On July 20th, 2026, the streets of New Delhi disappeared beneath clouds of tear gas. Thousands of students threw their weight against heavy metal police barricades, facing down lathis and rapid action forces. This was the Chalo Sansad March. After weeks of their protests going unaddressed, these students attempted to carry their grievances directly to the gates of the circular Indian Parliament House. The group orchestrating this march calls itself the Cockroach Janta Party, or CJP. They are a youth-led movement demanding a total overhaul of the national education system. This explosive confrontation was the result of a month-long deadlock at Jantar Mantar, finally pushing the protesters to leave their designated site and test the high-security perimeter surrounding the seat of government. The name Cockroach was a calculated reclamation of a Supreme Court judge's comment, which had referred to protesting jobless youths as parasites and cockroaches. Founder Abhijit Dipke and activist Sonam Wangchuck used the insult to launch an indefinite sit-in at Jantar Mantar, New Delhi's historic observatory. Wangchuck began a hunger strike that lasted over 20 days. As his health declined, the movement drew national media attention, evolving from a fringe satirical group into a coordinated political force. The movement shifted its focus towards systemic change, eventually presenting the government with an official charter of 3 non-negotiable demands. The first demand focuses on administrative accountability, the immediate resignation or sacking of Union Education Minister Pradhan. The students point to the massive 2026 NEET-UG paper leaks and grading irregularities in CBSE exams as proof of a failure that compromised testing centers nationwide. From a single compromised test paper, a leak can multiply outward to infect nodes across the entire national map of testing centers. Every red point represents test scores that lost their legitimacy, leaving millions of nautical aspirants without valid results. For the CJP, the removal of the education minister is a necessary step to establish a baseline of accountability for a system that failed to protect the integrity of its own examinations. The second demand addresses the psychological toll of these failures. The CJP is asking for 1 crore rupees in compensation for the families of every NEET aspirant who died by suicide following the 2026 exam crisis. The systemic breakdown has had tragic consequences, such as the reported death of a student in Odisha. These incidents highlight the intense pressure placed on students when the path to their profession is suddenly blocked by administrative errors. By attaching a specific financial penalty to these deaths, the protesters are forcing the state to quantify the results of its own negligence. This demand grounds a bureaucratic debate in the reality of student lives, using the human cost to challenge the government's lack of engagement. The final demand calls for the immediate release of Sonam Wangchuck from custody and a binding commitment to overhaul the national examination system. After 20 days of fasting, Wangchuck was forcibly removed from Jantar Mantar and detained under police watch at Safdarjung Hospital. While the students continue to ask for educational transparency, the state responded with increased surveillance, heavy physical barricades, and total internet shutdowns. This final demand forces a choice: continue relying on security cordons or begin addressing the institutional failures identified by the protesters. The disruption of the July 20th march finally forced the Modi government to acknowledge the crisis on the 30th day of the agitation. CJP representatives were granted a brief meeting with Union Minister JP Nadda, where they formally submitted their written memorandum of demands for the first time. The result is a stalemate. The government has requested more time to consult its leadership, while the youth organizers refuse to leave Jantar Mantar until they see concrete action. The pressure continues to build. While Wangchuck remains hospitalized, Abhijit Dipke and other youth leaders have taken his place, launching their own indefinite hunger strikes at the protest site. What began as a satirical reaction to an insult has developed into a serious challenge to the political establishment, demonstrating that a student population pushed to its limit will eventually demand its seat at the table.